Okay, so this is going to be a video to help with our third quiz in our Functions and Modeling Companion Lab. And it's all about taking a word problem that you already have the solution to and kind of translating that solution into an English sentence. And our goal here is going to be to write nice and simple sentences that really explain the answer without using too much math at all. The math is, we don't want to say for a problem like this, oh, X is 120 and Y is 83.8. That's not useful in an interpretation. What we're trying to do here is to kind of translate this into a English sentence that anybody could understand what you mean. You don't want to use the math here. And so it's very important for problems like this to really think about what your variables mean, because we do have an X and a Y here, right? But we want to make sure we're thinking about what these values actually mean in the real world. So let's start with X. X is the number of years after 1900, right? So if our X value is 120, well, what that really means is that 1900 plus 120 is 2020, right? So we're in the year 2020 here. So I'm going to start with that, just a phrase to kind of tell what our X value means, okay? So what's our Y value mean? Well, Y is the percent of a country's population that is foreign born. So this is a percent, so we're going to have a percent sign in here for sure, right? And then I'm just going to use the phrasing from the problem to help me write our sentence. There's no reason to go out and get super creative. You can if you want to. There's certainly many sentences that will correctly interpret this problem, but I'm not going to get that complicated. I'm just going to use the phrasing from the problem to help me write this sentence. So I would just say, in 2020, 83.8% of a country's population is foreign born. And you'll notice, this doesn't have anything about math. We don't talk about X and Y. We don't talk about intercepts. We don't talk about anything that we did with the graphing calculator. This is a sentence that you could just say to someone, like your boss asks you this question. You want to give them the answer to it in a English sentence that makes sense. It doesn't have anything to do with the math. So that's kind of the idea here. Okay, so for this problem, the same idea. We're still going to take another statement, try to write an English interpretation for it. Nice sentence, makes sense, doesn't have anything to do with the math, okay? So this question says the weekly total cost function for producing a dot matrix printer is C of X equals 5,000 plus 78X, where X is the number of printers produced per week. We go through some work. We get C of 1,200 equals 98,600. Again, this lesson is not about the math. It's about interpreting the results of your math. So we just want to think about what these mean. So again, this is a function notation statement. It's a little different from the ordered pair we did on the last one, but we still have an X in the parentheses here and a Y on the other side. So we're really focusing on what those mean. So let's start with the X. X is 1,200, right? And X is the number of printers we're producing per week. So I'm going to start with that. So my X is 1,200. So if we produce 1,200 printers per week, and again, you'll notice I'm not getting super creative with this. I'm using the phrasing from the problem to help me write my interpretation. Okay, so our Y value is 98,600. What is that? Well, it's the total cost for this. So we could say something like our total cost is $98,600. You could say we spend $98,600. There's a lot of different phrasing for this. That's why when you do your quiz, we'll have to go through and grade your answers there, because there's a lot of different correct sentences that do interpret these. But, again, you don't want to say, oh, X is 1,200 and Y is 98,600. That is not useful in the real world. It's not how you want to report your data. You want to tell what you use the math to get your solution, right? But then you need to be able to translate it into something that's a little more understandable in the real world. So we want a nice, simple English sentence that interprets what you get. Okay, so hopefully those are examples are helpful when you go to write your own sentences in the quiz, but don't hesitate to let your professor know if you have any other questions.